Hey, morning, Colin. How are you?
Good morning, Tim. How have you been?
Great, thanks.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon.
Good morning, Hisham. Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Hello, Adriana. Good morning.
Tobias, how have you been?
Hi, Colin. How are you? Yeah, I'm fine. Thanks for asking. And you?
Good, good. It's been a little bit.
Yeah, it is.
We still have 2 minutes waiting for the others to join and we can kick out. In the meantime, just let me know if you will be able to see my screen.
Yes, perfect.
Yep, looks great.
Oh, awesome.
Hello, good afternoon.
Hello, Susanna. How are you doing?
Susanna.
Fine, thank you. And you?
Good, very good.
Hi everyone, how are you?
Hello, Niels.
Hi.
Hi Salam, hi Hisham.
Hello.
Still
Hi,
in
everyone.
Brussels? Yes.
No, I was only there for 1 day, but I met your boss, Antun.
No, 1 day is too much. You were here for a couple of hours.
I arrived at 9, left at 5.
Yes.
Or 10 to 5, yeah.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hello everyone. Hi Sham. Hi Niels. Hi Susanna.
How are you doing?
Hi.
Okay, let's probably we're gonna start already because it's
Hello, everybody.
Hello, Claire. Okay, I think Colin, we can start. Colin and Niels. So good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, everybody, and welcome to this first GEC call of 2025. I hope it will be exciting as usual and lots of interactions between all the members. So before starting, I would like just to ask, let's say, all the audience to mute themselves, unless if they are presenter or when we open the Q&A section, they can always ask questions because we don't want to have any disturbance for presenters. And thank you in advance for this. So Arsenil is absent, so Colin will be just presenting the introduction of this call, and I will hand it over directly to Colin. So Colin, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Hisham, and welcome everyone to our kickoff meeting for 2025. Thank you so much first for all of the hard work from last year. I think I'd like to start with that. We had a very good year. And today's session we would like to share with you our plans and priorities for 2025. In addition to that, we've got some really good external speakers and guest speakers that will be presenting today. We have Claire O'Keefe, our VP of Global Audit, who's going to be sharing the audit reset plan for sustainability with everyone to kick us off. We also have Lars Ludwig from Pete, the global procurement team, to give us an update on packaging sustainability and climate dashboards. And then, of course, we'll have our normal routine updates today at the start of the year for each of the key pillar areas: packaging, sustainability, climate, and water. And then we'll have a little bit of time still remaining at the end of this session for questions and answers. So I think with that, Hisham, I'll give it back to you so that we could go ahead and get started.
Yeah, thank you so much, Colin, for this. So let's move on directly to the next topic, and which is the Global Audit Organization updates with Claire. So Claire, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Hisham. So hello, everyone. I hope you're each doing really well. I'm happy to have the chance to join you today and to provide a GEO update. So for a couple of minutes, I'm going to take a quick look back at the environmental audits for 2024. But for the majority of the 20 minutes together, I'm going to look at the environmental audit reset. So moving on to the next slide, please. So this is kind of a quick snapshot of our environmental audits for 2024. So in total across GEO, across all the different audit types and assessments, we did 395 audits and assessments last year. And within that mix, there were 138 environmental audits at manufacturing sites. And if we move to the chart below, we see the audit outcomes, and we see the environmental pillar on the left, and we see that there's 96% are meets requirements and 4% are meets with exceptions, which is a very high success rate. And the other pillars to the right of that represent the audit outcome for other facets. So we see QSE as a whole, so across all our audits, QFS, safety, and route to market. And we see the red in there for some of for the other facets representing the does not meet. So we see that, yes, so environment is very successful and is comparatively, we have a higher success rate for environmental than we do for the other facets. In part, this is, I think, representative of, the plants have been, the bottling partners and plants, we've been on this work for a long time. And a lot of what's in core is also aligned with what's legal requirements and regulatory requirements. And we have a strong practice practices in place to be compliant for that. Then so out of these 138 audits, where did we see gaps? So if we look to the right-hand side of the slide, on the upper part, we see that we had these are the areas of the greatest number of findings. So we see 44%. Actually, I say high risk majors and minors. Actually, we didn't have any high risks in environmental last year. I think it's the first year in a long time that we haven't had any high risks for environmental. We had 2 in the previous year. So where were the majors and high risks then? We had them in waste management and spill prevention. 25% were in wastewater quality, over 16% in performance metrics, and about 14% in sustainability. For the sustainability part, that's primarily around the climate protection is where we see the findings coming through. Some of the performance metrics will also link into the sustainability part. So I said there were no high risks. There were 8 majors in total and 109 minors. Out of those 8 majors, 5 were in wastewater quality, 2 were in spill control, and 1 was in waste management. Currently, myself and the leadership team in GEO, we're wrapping up our 2024 GEO year-end reports, and we will be sharing these tomorrow, Monday. And you will see in that we'll share more detail on what those majors, the content of what those majors are in the wastewater quality and the spill and waste management. And also Tuba is leading the work on the climate protection and data plausibility part within the team. And she's done a deep dive on that to see what's it telling us, where we're doing well, where we have opportunities, and bringing together that the sustainability part and the EOSH PM part to see what we saw in audit. So keep an eye out for that. You'll see that coming through different channels next week. So that's a quick touch point on 2024 and a call out to let you know that the further data is following. So with that, I'm going to move to the next slide and I'm going to talk about the environmental audit reset. So the first thing is none of this happens without people making it happen and without a team. So I want to first recognize the team. So in our core team, we've Juan Andreas, Amit, from our bottling partners, so ARCA, ECC, BC, and Swire, respectively. Laura and Susanna from the OU and from LATAM and Europe OU, respectively. Io from the risk and governance team in corporate, and then Tuba, Lindsay, Sherry, and myself from GEO. Usama is in our extended team, but actually Usama is kind of part of both core and extended, and gave some great direction at the start. And we've Gabby, Sajish, Niels, Colin, and other. Niels is our touch point to all of the sustainability team in corporate, and through that, Colin and the rest of you have channeling input. So a sincere thanks to this group, particularly our core team, and to those who are providing input. None of this happens without you. Today and after this call, we'll be sharing what we have with you, the protocol we have with you for your feedback, the draft protocol. And we'll be looking for all of your feedback too. On the right-hand side of the slide, just want to touch again on some considerations we had that were part of the redesign. The scope is manufacturing sites only. We're not going beyond that at present. We audit to core requirements, and in core makes reference to the need, so it defines specific requirements within it. It calls out the need to have ISO 14001, and it calls out the need for legal and regulatory compliance in every one of the requirements. So we think when we say core compliance, it's all of those aspects. It's core, 14001, and legal and regulatory are all within scope when we audit. That doesn't change. The scope of what we audit or what's applicable to be audited does not change. We cannot make up requirements in audit and say, we're going to audit you to this. So the next consideration is environmental and safety audit still remains a 5-day one audit experience. So one auditor is doing both the environmental and safety audit in 5 days. That has an impact on resource. So in reality, you can expect about 1.5 days out of your week will be dedicated to environment. And auditor resource, we need to make sure that what we ask, I think everybody has aspects they'd like to ask, and make sure that we can add this and add different things, but it has to be feasible for the auditors to do it. We cannot have an unreasonable expectation on the auditors. It has to be something they can assess meaningfully and provide meaningful feedback on within the time that's available. So those were kind of the constraints going into the design. So then on the next slide, please, we've 2 parts to this slide. So the upper half is like a timeline, and the lower half is the design of the environmental reset. So let's take a look at the upper half first. So in end of last year and a bit earlier than Q4, actually, we had some outreach looking for your priorities, some brainstorming, what would we put in there? So for example, one of the call outs was, let's make sure we go beyond documentation. It's so important. It's not just, do you have this document, do you have that document, but what's the real practice on the site? Another key call out from the majority was wastewater quality really matters. And we see that in our previous slide that 5 out of the 8 majors link to wastewater quality. So that will remain important. Or another call out is the data plausibility and all around data governance, data accuracy, data completeness. So this becomes increasingly important for all of us as we go into a new way of reporting where sustainability data is treated like financial data. So these are just some examples of what came out in that initial brainstorming phase or in the ask of what matters that come out. So then we went from that into designing our V1 protocol. We've that done now, and that's where we are today with it. And we worked in our core team and some outreach and some inputs to bring that together. And now we are sharing that with you after the call today, and we'll be looking for your feedback. And as we go into February, we will have pilot audits. I say free trial, and I'm going to come back to that in a couple of minutes and talk to what I mean by that. So during this, we've already shared the protocol with the rest of the auditors who are not engaged in the redesign and had sharing sessions with them. We still have 1 or 2 more to go to make sure that everybody has a chance within audit to ask questions on it, make sure we're aligned in intent and to be in a place to trial this in the February period. And then we will take all your feedback from the protocol, from the pilots, and bring it together, make whatever changes we need with the intent to go live in Q2. So then, so that's kind of the timeline and the process. So then coming to the lower half of the slide, so below the gray bar in the middle where you see audit pillars for environmental audit. So this is a graphic or a diagram to represent the audit process. For those of you who are familiar with the safety or the QFS or the route to market audits, it's a similar structure in that we have different pillars that we look at. And for those who are not familiar with it, no problem, we're going to chat on it now. So you see here the 6 boxes, and there are 6 parts that make up our environmental audit. Each one of those parts contributes to the overall outcome. And you see in the bottom part in red text, the percent they contribute. So you see 50%, 10%, etc. So that's how much weight they bring to the overall outcome. And then so we see the very first pillar is core compliance. So this is like what we have today. It's the audit we have today, essentially. That doesn't change. That will continue. We will have compliance like we have it today. And that is going to make up 50% of the score. But then the other additional 5 parts or 5 pillars, what's that about? So why would we call something out over and above the core compliance? There's a couple of reasons why you might make a separate pillar. So it might be an area that's of particular importance that we want to give an elevated or an enhanced focus. It might be an area we want to give greater visibility to. Or it might be an area we don't audit so well in core compliance today, and we want to make sure we audit it in depth because of the importance. So these are some of the reasons or the thinking as to why we'd have additional parts beyond core compliance. And it's also elevating those programs that we see as essential for continued or sustained performance. So things like internal audit and continuous improvement to sustain long-term performance and not just what do I have today. These are critical. So that's the thinking on why we would have additional parts. So then let's have a quick look through them. So we have leadership, commitment and employee engagement. Does the leadership team know what matters for environment? Do they review the metrics? Do they know the key challenges? Are they resourcing it? Are they talking about it? Are they communicating it? Is there a way for the employees to be engaged in it? That's the second pillar. The third one, legal and regulatory compliance process. So when you're auditing compliance, so for example, if one of the auditors is auditing wastewater and you're not meeting the legal compliance, that will, of course, be reflected in the core compliance and in the rating. If you don't have your wastewater discharge permit, that's going to be a very serious finding. The pillar 3 on legal and regulatory compliance, this is more looking at your process. How do you know what applies from a legal and regulatory compliance perspective? How do you know when changes happen? How do you make sure you're compliant? If you identify gaps, do you close the gaps? Now, if we see gaps if there are gaps in the legal compliance that are noted in the core compliance part, yes, that will impact here because it means the processes aren't serving the plant as they need to make sure that we're legally compliant. Then the fourth pillar is internal audit. Does the internal audit process, do they have one that covers all the environmental aspects? Do they have auditors that are well equipped to do this? Do they pick up what should be picked up in the plant? And if they do pick it up, are they closing out these gaps? So that's the internal audit one. Then the next one is Cosmos and data plausibility. So I mentioned this at the start, was one that several people raised as an area where you're looking for us to bring you more value. And hopefully this will address that. So does the facility know what metrics or what data they should be tracking and recording? Do they have a way to track and record it? When they have the data, are they doing a sense check? Are they looking at, is it increasing all the time? And is there a reason it's happening or there's a mistake? Is there 1 month where we have a value in a fuel type that we've never had before? Is it correct? Or are we missing a value for a fuel type we normally have? Things like that. Is there a sense check on the data? And if there's something that looks a bit off, can they explain why? Then do they report it accurately in Cosmos? Now, I know for a number of our bottling partners, you report via HQ, and we consider that as we work through that pillar in the audit. And then finally, the continuous improvement one. In this pillar, we're kind of looking at 3 areas for now. So the first one around water security risk. So you've done your SVA, you've got some risks identified. Do you have a water management plan to address that? And are you active on it and following it up? And then looking at water and energy efficiency and improvements. Have you plans to drive it? Are you on time with it? Are you resourcing it? So these are the total of the 6 pillars that make up the design of the reset. The intent isn't to get every single thing A to Z, but to make sure in that 1.5 days when we're on site that we're focusing on what matters most. We can always add more, but we will have to be prioritized and make sure that we're investing that time where it matters most. So for example, over time, the continuous improvement pillar will evolve maybe, and we'll be looking at other programs to be in there when we say we're sorted on some of those parts. So I'm just going to take sharing for a moment, please, Hisham, if I may.
Yeah, of course, you can take lead. I'm stop sharing now.
Okay, and I'm going to quickly share with you the actual share with you the protocol. So this is the Excel sheet which you will have access to after this call. And I'm going to show you the different worksheets and then just take a moment to talk you through one of them, just to have a feel for what the structure is. So this very first sheet is a high-level summary of the different pillars, a bit like what we had in that slide. So it talks to kind of what's in there and what the area of focus for the pillar is. A couple of call-outs, wastewater management, the water treatment, the discharge, disposal, etc. They will still be absolutely core elements on our core compliance. Calling out some changes, maybe our priority areas on climate protection around refrigerant leaks reporting, for energy improved efficiency, but looking also, do you have a renewable energy goal and is there a carbon emission target? The EOSH PM, they're more and more a central part of the audit and will still be a critical part of the core compliance. So that's making sure we're seeking to focus on what we feel are the principal areas to prioritize. And then you see a summary for each of the pillars. This one just shows how the audit outcome is calculated, and it brings the score from each one of the other pillars into here and automatically calculated. So then you see here the leadership pillar, for example, and you'll have a little bit on intent, auditor guidance. Then you'll have the question, some columns that talk to the scoring and just the actual numbers of it. And then here you'll have further auditor guidance on how to audit or intent to that question, or and always some information on what we're looking for to score it. We are sharing this with you in full transparency. This is to be collectively the best of us. We're not trying to catch any plant out, but we're trying to make sure that we're auditing what matters and that we bring value. So you have this in absolute full transparency for you all to go through and see what we're approaching, what we're prioritizing, what our intent is, what our understanding is. And if you see any challenge with any of those, this is really your chance as we ask for your feedback to call it out. The regulatory and legal pillar, internal audit, and then the Cosmos and the water performance. So you see we're sharing exactly everything in full. So if we look at, for example, this internal audit pillar, you have a bit of the auditor guidance and intent. You know, does the facility have an internal audit program covering the environmental part? Then some guidance and scoring. Are the auditors well equipped? You know, are they trained or have experience so that they know how to do it? Does the audit program pick up the gaps? You know, you can have a good program on paper, but if it's not picking up what it should pick up, that's really important. And then if you do have gaps, is it closing it out? And you'll see all the intent and the scoring there. So that's just to give you a feel for what the protocol looks like, so that you know what you will be asked to give feedback on. Again, it's in full transparency. And then you see here, what next? Okay, so we're sharing it with you today, and the ask is for feedback by February 21. We're leveraging your Global Environmental Council webpage, and you see here, Hisham already added it, so thank you so much, Hisham. And Environmental Audit Reset Protocol, you see it added here. So you now have access to this and you can start reviewing it. Then this file here is where we're asking you to provide your feedback. So it's a bit structured, you know, just to understand, you know, is it a bottling partner, which OU or corporate, you know, an email so we can get back to you, then which pillar, what your feedback is, and some proposal. Then I mentioned the audits in February will be piloted and a free trial. What does this free trial mean? So the official outcome and any official report will be based on the core compliance audit as we've always had. There won't be any change in that. It's only the plant and the auditor will see the ongoing pilot working draft that they will use together. And then it's your feedback from that process and the auditor's feedback from that process that will be important. So these audits will be piloted in Feb. We're using the existing audit schedule, and it's a free trial. And if you have any concerns with that, don't hesitate to let us know. But there is no impact on your report and no impact on your outcome. Then we'll take your feedback from the protocol, we'll take the feedback from the pilots, and we will revise that, and we will go to live, you know, revise it, bring it together and launch it officially and go live in Q2. So I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to check with Hisham if we have time for questions live or if we do it via the chat.
I think we are just right on time. Thank you so much for respecting this, Claire. Really appreciate it. I think there are a lot of questions in chat.
Okay.
I have seen that Niels has already responded on some of them, but I think if you can just review them and see where you can add value, Claire, it will help a lot. So let's take them in chat then, okay?
No problem. And, you know, please keep reaching out to us. So to myself, Tuba in particular, because we're in the core team and we can work through those answers with you, and just keep asking. And thank you so much for our core team, our extended team, and for your time today.
Thank you so much, Claire, for this. We really appreciate it. And let's continue our collaboration. So we're going to move to the next topic, and I will invite our colleague Lars, who will be presenting the, let's say, the CPG dashboard linked to sustainable packaging and climate. So Lars, I'm not sharing my screen because I know that Lars will be sharing his screen as he will be sharing a demo for dashboard. So Lars, the floor is yours, please.
Yeah, here we go. Hello, and good day from rainy and gray Hamburg in Germany. Thanks, Hisham, for the opportunity to present a little bit the evolution.
Lars, sorry to interrupt you. The screen is not sharing properly. We can see that only the secondary screen. So maybe you can click on display settings and then select the right screen. Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you.
There we go. All right. Okay, cool. Thanks for the hint. So yeah, thanks for the opportunity to show this. And it's not just our goals that are evolving, it's also the way we track, monitor, and report the various goals that we have. And I think, as you probably all know this, we have started, I think 2-3 years ago, to really track the numbers with the bottlers, getting the numbers from the bottlers 4 times a year for the current year, and then also for all the years ahead. So you know this one, you might say, so why is he presenting this? We know that already, which is true. So don't too much look into the numbers, because as you know, on the 2nd of December, the Coca-Cola Company has evolved the numbers. They are different, and so all the bottlers are at the moment in the process of reviewing and resetting what that means to them, instead of being 50% by 2030, now having kind of 5 years time to do less. So this is it. However, we will probably we're waiting for the final numbers, but we probably ended 2024 by, call it, around 20% of rPET globally. So, but this is just our PET. And as we all know, the sustainability goals are more than just PET. So what we have done is to kind of evolve from a rPOD dashboard, what this is, to a, call it, one-stop shop for packaging and climate KPIs. So to see, okay, PET is one thing, but we also need recycling and glass. We need metals. We have paper in scope. We talk about CDP and SBTI. So to really know where we are, to double-click into bottlers, to double-click even into countries of the bottlers. We do have everything here now provided in one tool. And I would like to take the opportunity, if technology doesn't leave me alone here, to go live into it. Check. Oh, looks promising. There we go. So here you can see what I just, the screenshot that I had, and on the left-hand side, you have all the little icons to look into the requested material that you want. So you can go into plastic. We have seen that one. It's the recycling content that we have. You can click on the on the upper hand side into global. You can see into CEPG only. So we fortunately have the support of Hisham, who takes care of all the bottlers that are not in CEPG. So we have non-CEPG here. Those numbers we have, we get from Hisham. And then we also have, because that's obviously what leadership wants to see, the Coca-Cola system view and on where we are and how it all works. So this is, again, don't look into the numbers. They're going to change soon anyway, because everybody is reviewing it. But this is really giving us a wonderful idea on where we are on rPET. And then you can say, okay, so that's fine and good. I know that already. So you can do the same for glass on recycled content, where they are. It's a little bit of a visualization here, but don't ask me too much about glass. I'm not an expert on this one. However, I think what really makes sense, and is obviously part of this whole sustainability journey that we have, is not just the content, but it's also everything that is around carbon. So here it gives you an overview on where we are with the suppliers committing to SBTI or CDP. And this is the high-level overview. So how many suppliers do we have, or what kind of packaging? So it gives you a little flavor, but that's obviously not good enough. So you can double-click into each bottler. So on the upper right-hand side, you can see, okay, so this is RPET roadmap refresh. Sorry. So here is the RPET of CCBA, and here are the individual countries. So that you can see where do we make progress, where do we make less progress, and obviously then can connect with the bottlers or the OUs to get an update. But what I actually want to share is, and I think this is, so it's brand new. It just came out, I think, 2 weeks ago or something.
Yeah.
We have here down here the deep dive, where you can see which supplier is it and what have they done. On the category, you can see the progress by months. Do we actually moving forward, or do we stay? And as well for CPG only, because that is what we control. This is what we can kind of manage. So this really, I think, is a great tool. So as I said, you have this for glass. As you can see here, we have this for metals. A little bit of a different story, because obviously RPET is bought and procured directly by the bottlers, while metals and glass, we have to work with the suppliers mainly to get that material into their containers. And we have RPET, and we even have paper. And then again, you can go here and double check the RPET content. But what I wanted to say here, I'm just gonna figure out how that was, is actually the suppliers that we have. Let's check where that was. No. Which suppliers are part of the science-based targets, so that you know, okay, good to know how many, but I want to know who it is. And
look, it's in the right on the top here.
Yeah, I did on the.
Now, if you zoom back to whom?
Yeah, there it is.
You were in the carbon, which is the last one.
Yeah, exactly. And then I just did it 2 minutes ago, and now it's like
in the right on the top, right stop.
Right here. No.
Yeah. No.
That doesn't work. We have this. No, it was. Oh, here it is. So here you have all the suppliers that have signed up for SBTI, for example, what level, what category, and the status. So I think this really, I hope, is a useful tool to kind of track everything that CPG together with Hisham's team is doing to drive the sustainable packaging goals forward. Again, it evolved. Like 4 years ago, we hardly had one number, and I think it's much better now to see what's going on and where do we maybe fall behind, need a little bit more effort into this. So this was kind of a short snapshot on the next evolution stage that we had. In this term, is there any questions that you might have? So again, we will constantly update this. Now, as soon as we get the new numbers from the bottlers, we will obviously put it all in so that we have an updated view on the 2035 goals.
Yeah, thank you so much, Lars, for this. This is really outstanding work. I know a lot of work the team was working hard to get it done for the last couple of months, starting from, I think it's mid of last year. But I think the fruits are here. I mean, it's really, really amazing when we can see the combination of the packaging and the climate, plus all the CO2, the GHG factors for ingredients and other stuff. It's a really, thank you so much for this.
No problem. Thank you.
Is there Lars, before moving forward?
Yeah, hi, Stanley from CCP. The dashboard looks great. Packaging dashboard looks great, Lars. Just in terms, I think someone mentioned in chat, I also put a comment in there. Just who's feeding in the data from the bottlers? Is it our procurement teams?
Well, we get the we collect all the data from the bottlers 4 times a year, and then our analytics team put it all together and updates it accordingly. And my procurement team kind of double checked whether there's a big mistake in there, a typo, or a zero too much or too little. So that, and then we upload it. So we update it almost 6 weeks after the end of each quarter.
Correct.
So it's
Just to what Lars is saying, it's indeed collaboration between the CPG from the bottlers and CPG from the company. That's mean focusing on purchased material.
Yeah, I was just seeing if I could get a view at a bottler level. I think someone else mentioned that in chat around. I didn't see all the splits. Whether I could go into this dashboard and see CCEP, for example.
You can see. You can see CCEP and you can see every single country of CCEP.
Perfect. And then when you pull the data in each quarter, does the following quarter supersede? So the full year numbers that for 24 that procurement are pulling in for me for the R1 rates, will that supersede what you've collected? So I'm assuming, are they giving you a 3 + 9, 6 + 6, 9 + 3 forecast, and then the full year in January?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Full year early Feb. As obviously CCP and all the bottlers have to reconcile the numbers first to make sure that they're kind of audit proof. So this whole process, how we do it, is audited by Ernst & Young to make sure that we don't report some crap. And so no, that's how exactly how we do it. Once we have first quarter reported by the bottlers, we update the first quarter and we leave the remaining 3 as forecasted. And then second quarter, same thing.
Yeah, just an important point on that question from that I just asked. So the full year figure supersedes. You don't lock down each quarter throughout the year. So the full year number will be based on the data we're pulling in now.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, great. I'll be interested. I'm really looking forward to see if the numbers you produce for 24 is the same as what the central procurement team provide me for CCEP. So it'll be interesting.
I hope they do. They should actually. Yeah. So what do we have now? End of Jan. So I would think call it week of the 10th of Feb. We should have the real numbers for 2024.
Very good. Thanks a lot.
Okay, thank you so much, Lars, for this exciting dashboard. I'm sure that the IF system will enjoy it. Thank you so much. So before we do, let's say the main deck, I'm gonna just share with you our GEC website. I hope you are able to see my screen. Are you able? Oh, great.
Yes.
So this is our GEC website. So just to let you know that those are the 2 files that Claire was talking about. So you can have them here on the news section. However, if you scroll down a little bit, there are useful links here, and the dashboard that Lars was presenting it's here, the first one. You can just click on it. You may not have probably the access, but if you send us just a note that you would like to have access, you will have it, because they are still providing access team by team, so the work is in progress. And as I'm here, I would like just to, because at the end of last year we have presented this website, but I would like just to make a refreshment. So if you would like to have training on sustainability, you can go to Training Hub, and you are having all what is linked to packaging, climate, and water. Just click on them and select the training you would like to follow. We are having here a survey that we expect a feedback from you to make this website much better. And some useful, the last call presentation and videos, they will be always populated here in this section. That's mean if you want them, you need just to go, or there is another way that you go from the top. You know, we are having here the meeting materials. You will find the same as well. Just here, this map, it indicates actually the world map or system map. So you click on operating units and you will have access to all the contact persons from operating units and from local partners. Wherever you click, you will have this information available. From corporates, you need just to click here and you will have the entire corporate colleagues working on sustainability, including CPG. And on the bottom, if you miss up any in your calendar any call, so you will have them here. Just click on them and you can join the call immediately, whatever it is. So I want just to make this refreshment for you, and now I'm going to return back to my main deck just to have it presented. Yes, let me move on. Okay, so the next topic is linked to packaging sustainability pillar updates. And here I'm going to talk a little bit about 2024 recap of initiatives and deliveries, and the collection, let's say, for recycling, let's say, targets and the keynotes that we're learning we have captured from this, and the 2025 priorities for the, let's say, packaging sustainability pillar. So I will start with the great achievements of this pillar. So we have launched the collection for recycling program. So we operationalize it in 21 countries out of 23. So we have only US and China, mainland, that we were not able to do it, but because it's still work in progress, I'm sure this year we'll have something implemented over there. However, Uzbekistan has been cancelled to the budget constraints. By the end of Q4, without counting LATAM updates, because we didn't get it yet as we speak, so we are already 95.5% of the settled targets early last year. So we have collected around 705,000 metric tons, and we are collected and owned is 739. So that's why we are having this 95. But I'm sure if we include LATAM Q4 numbers, we will exceed in our targets, which is 700, let's say 39. We have also, released with the help of corporate R&D, and I must say with the help of Aurelie from R&D, to release a version 1 packaging material recyclability as well. So at least for new packaging innovations, we can always think about the material recyclable, which is not recyclable as well. The airport authorizations, we have committed to deliver 43 supply points, and we did 42, and definitely we are still having 5 ongoing, either under testing or so this will be almost completed by probably within a couple of weeks, 1 or 2 weeks. Airport monitoring program, I have pleasure to say that we didn't get any food safety issues since 2021. So here we are talking about 15 quarters in total. Of course, the data point will help us to revise, all those supply points to see where we are having high level of contaminations that will focus more and probably reduce the frequency for the one that we have never seen there is an issue at all. So this is actually the 2024 recap. Just here, the key learning from collection for recycling. So we are having, of course, 10 markets that the linkage has been established 100%. So if you see the chart on the right, so you see the red bar is actually what we have committed to deliver, and what is orange is where we are without, by the end of 2024, without LATAM numbers. That means this has been collected by our system. And the green, it's not only has been collected, but linked to our approved recyclers. So we are almost 50% of what we are owning, we have linked to our recycling, let's say, approved recyclers. So that means we still need to continue to work on this part to link more. At least we can impact the airpatch cost and also ensure that all our efforts is not going, to the other industries to benefit from it. So this is the main point. So 10 markets are fully aligned with collection for recycling by linking 100% of what they are owning as material. Several markets we are having a partial linkage, but definitely we are having some markets that we are making a lot of efforts without, let's say, gaining anything from it. But definitely the objective of this year is really to evolve this and try to link it to our approved recyclers by moving it here and there. And this work will be doing it in collaboration with CPG. So again, here, how we're going to continue our improvements. So what has been worked well in 2024? Of course, I cannot stop to say that dedication of team members and determination has helped a lot to implement this collection for recycling and moving it forward. So the team is, I mean, collaboration is really consistent, and without you guys, definitely this will not happen, of course. So what's even better, I mean, it could happen, I mean, improve better, is we greater alignment between certain operating units and local bottling partners. Sometimes there is misalignment, and we figure out that the investment is happening only from our system and not from bottling side, and vice versa. So we need to align a starting point with the local bottling partners to move forward together and hand to hand. Increasing the investment, of course, and support to ensure sustainability of implementing the collection models in the guidebook, and the engagement and implementation of collection for recycling in top 40 countries will boost definitely numbers, and also will help us to work with CPG to look at the average costs in different regions. So the recommendations that we have got from system, we need to incorporate all the top 40 countries in this collection for recycling models. That means we are having 10 markets that we cannot for sure, because they are having deposit return system already. Either it's implemented or they are in the way to implementing it. That means we'll be focusing on 30 markets in total this year. And also expand the collection for recycling models to include aluminium and glass. That was recommended as well, in addition of the existing materials. So we need to, I mean, increase the materials, because we are having a couple of, I mean, thousands of metric tons we are having in metal and in glass. So we need to benefit from this as well, as the collection for recycling models are collecting all the materials anyway. And the third point that it was as well sort of recommendation is to focus as well on touristic Iceland nations. Definitely not for the volume to what we should collect, but this is more for visibility, because those islands are more, I would say, touristic. So we need to ensure that, yeah, all tourists, they will not see our packages just littering in over there. Now we're going to move to 2025 priorities. So for 2025 priorities, we have identified 2 projects. So the first one is the collection for recycling program expansion. And here, as I said, we'll be just focusing on what we call top 40 countries, excluding the countries where the DRS system is implemented. And so the countries I have highlighted them where we will be focusing. So Algeria, Vietnam, Iraq, Kazakhstan, Saudi Arabia. So all of them are here. We'll be focusing on either US and Canada. And there is a project number 2, which is dedicated actually for metal and glass. So we will have the expanded scope of aluminium and the glass. So we need to incorporate them in collection for recycling. And it will be phase 1 just to try to include them on the project. And phase 2, we need to work on increasing recycled content for them. What does it mean? We need to ensure that what we will be collecting in phase 1, it's linked to our suppliers. It could be for glass, the glass bottles producer, or for metal, that's mean the metal alloy producers, I mean, who make, let's say, the coils for our cans and so on. So this work, now we are still in brainstorming parts, but definitely we will involve lots of parts from system to think with us how we're going to progress with this. So this is for the project number 1. What we are committed to is actually to focus on top 40 countries. So you don't need to read this slide because it will be shared with you, but we put sort of charter for it. It's here what we would like to deliver on quarterly basis or a monthly basis. But the goal, of course, is to enhance capability of system for driving collection for recycling and focusing on top 40 markets. And we need to ensure that all those big countries are involved on collection for recycling. Project number 2, which is new, it's really the expansion of the collection for recycling scope to include aluminium and glass. Again, this will be shared with let's say, Technical Innovation and Supply Chain Council leaders, and that you see on the top. So they are representing this, and the charter for this as well, it will be shared with all of you. And definitely here, as you see, because this is the most important part of it today, is the team members. We have assigned just team members here that we think they're going to provide us a lot of support, and they are already working on this. but definitely we're seeking for more collaboration from system, whomever who want to join us. I mean, from operating units or bottling partners, or even from corporates, it could be even CPG, they are more than welcome. So as you can see for CPG, for metal, we are having all the players on this aspect. So you are more than welcome to join us as well for this journey. So just last ask that I'm having from the system, definitely enhance alignment and investment. So we need to have this happening, otherwise we will be blocked or in shortness of investment for getting the material collected. And of course, accelerate program expansion. So we need to advocate for continued support of the implementation of top 40 countries. But now we will not talk about metal or glass or PET. It will be for all of them. We will focus on top 40 countries. Probably for aluminum and glass, we'll be focusing on one market or two, where we see a lot of benefits. And we're going to make study from end to end to see from where we start and where we will be in the end of probably 2 quarters of full year. At least we can show the benefits of implementing it. But again, we will see with the team members how we're going to progress on this project. And the last ask I'm having here is to have the CPG support, and definitely the bottling partners' participation is really needed. So I mean, we as a system alone, for sure, we cannot go too far. But if we are having the bottler participation with us, we are sure that we can face all challenges we may be facing, either for PET or can and glass. All of them, we can succeed them. So this is all what I have to share with you today. I don't know if you have any question for me before moving to the next topic. Let me check the time. Yeah, I'm still having 2 minutes for any question. I'm sorry if there is any question in chat. I'm not able to see it because I'm presenting, but I count on my colleagues just to treat it if possible.
Yes, Hisham, there's one question, might be more for Lars. One would be, can we expand the scope of the work of the dashboards to non-CEPG bottlers, suppliers?
That would need to be done by Hisham because we're not allowed to do that.
Yeah, there is a certain confidentiality and authority for this, but it's a very good point. I will take it and we'll be discussing it with the analytics team to see how we can include this as well. But very good.
Then we have one more question from Andrea. Can we share the link for the dashboard, which are presented by Lars, in the chat? That would be great.
Actually, if you have followed in the beginning, I was sharing GEC websites. There is a link over there. We can share it always, but you can find it always in GEC website in useful link section. So it will be on the top. So just click on it and you will have access.
Then I see one more question, many questions. And then I see Gabi's question. When are you planning to update the packaging material recyclability list with the feedback provided?
Yeah, I think the question here is more about core documents. Definitely, we are already working on version 2 with corporate R&D. So I must confess that since November we didn't have any connection, but because there are a lot of things has happened in corporate R&D because they went through reorganization. But I'm sure we're gonna start this initiative as well, and hopefully by the end of Q1 we will release the version 2 of these documents. So I think I will take the questions later for if there is more, but we need to move to the next topic for sure because the time constraints. So we need to provide each one of us the right time that is dedicated to him. So the next topic will be the climate, and here I will invite my colleague Colin to take the lead of this section. So Colin, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Hisham. I appreciate that. If you could just flip it one more. Hi, everybody. Good to see you. Start of the year. Really wanted to start with appreciating the deliveries at the end of the year and also note some active projects that are continuing before I get into our priorities for this year. So we do have an excellent ongoing project that Susanna has been leading to digitize our LCA platform, as well as our work with supplier-specific emission factors, which CEPG and Catherine are leading. In February, we're going to give them an opportunity to come and provide the status and the work that they're doing on that ongoing work in the pilot testing. In addition, all of the heavy lifting that everyone supported with to update our science-based target commitment and to work on the modeling and all of the costing was an extremely big effort last year. I really appreciate all of the work across the system from all of the stakeholders, both company and system level stakeholders that participated in that big rock last year as well. If you can go to the next slide, Hisham. For 2025, so we have 4 key areas that we're focusing on. Number 1, it's to operationalize our new refreshed climate targets. So we've released these targets, both now we have separated targets. If you recall before, it was 1 target, 25% reduction across scope 1, scope 2, and scope 3. And this time now we have 2 separate targets. We have one for scope 1 and scope 2 that is an absolute reduction target that is to reduce 67% against the 2019 baseline. And the second target is a carbon intensity target now for scope 3, which combines both the industrial energy emissions and the flag emissions into one target that is then normalized to company sales. So we have big work ahead of us to take that and really to drive the progress, start working with that. We're already starting to do this within the business and within the focus in each OU and CPS. It's already started and the work is ongoing. The second big area is we really need to increase our capabilities around how we reduce emissions from an agricultural point of view. Last year, I think one of the key learnings was from trying to adapt to this flag target and really not having yet all of the understanding of how we would be able to decarbonize there. What would be really the key levers from a carbon reduction, but also this topic of carbon removal, which is sequestration of CO2 into soil and into plants. It's an area that we need to learn this year a little bit more on. And we have a plan that I'll share with you on how we're going to increase that capability within our decarbonization guidebook. The third item there you see is digitizing the way we work with the SBT tool. So this is a really key strategic project that was started last year, in fact. So it is now just in the official phase, I would say, in terms of a request for proposal with vendors. And the aim for this project, which I'll give you more specifics on in a minute, is to make sure that we can come away this year with either A, the ability to do just as the LCA project is doing and in Q1 pilot tested in 2026, or if we feel comfortable enough as a project team, we go straight ahead with a full-scale rollout by the end of the year. And that will be the project team's decision. We already have a project team that is actively working on this. I'll give you a little bit of an update on that in a moment. Finally, we are digitizing the final large pieces as it relates to Scope 3 and Cosmos right now. What I mean is packaging emissions. We're almost fully there. There's just some small pieces left that is related mainly to secondary and tertiary packaging emissions. And then ingredients, which is a very, very big pillar for us, especially now with the new company boundary focus. It is increased in materiality, in fact. And that is a really key one that's ongoing that I'll share a little more with you in a moment. And also cold drink equipment emissions module. So all of those modules, we have active work right now with platform services and teams that are focusing on integrating those into Cosmos. If you can go to the next slide, Hisham. So let's start with this first key focus area, operationalizing our new refreshed climate targets. With that, there are some key steps that we're doing early on that are going to be very, very important to our work moving forward for this year. And that is, first, we're implementing a clarifying document, and that should be ready within the next, I would say, week. This document will give the system the specific information on what are the target levels, what is the scope and boundaries looking, what is in, what was excluded, how did we set this structure up for the new targets in much more detail than what was communicated in December, so that we can make sure that we have alignment across the system on the Coca-Cola Company's new targets. I think that's going to be key going forward, that we all are on the same page and we all have the same alignment and awareness there. In addition to that, the operating units and CPS are working very hard right now to confirm both their base year numbers in 2019 and their target levels for both the Scope 1, Scope 2, and Scope 3 targets that were provided at the end of the year for decision. So that will be work that we will work to finalize here in the month of February, and that will set the stage for this year's progress that we make on the bigger picture of this strategy in 2025. The next step is really key in terms of integrating this work into the long-range plans. So what we need to do next is we really need to make this more actionable. So we did more long-term modeling last year. We did this out to 2030 and 2035. Now we need to take it within a 3-year time frame, 2026 to 2028, and really turn those glide paths into carbon reduction plans in each OU and in CPS as well, to make sure that we can make this part of the normal process, the normal LRP process, in addition with the indicative costing that we put together last year to firm that up a bit for this process as well. That will occur in Q2 and Q3 and will be aligned with the timing of the LRP process. Throughout the year, we're going to have a monitoring and progress check on our 2025 targets. This will be a new review that we'll perform quarterly with each OU and CPS, just to make sure how are we progressing, what support is needed, are we making progress in what we agreed upon in the February timeframe for this year, and not just on the Scope 1 and Scope 2 QSE focus target, but also on the Scope 3 as well. And then once we get through our reporting process and we have final numbers for 2024, we'll go ahead, we'll update our glide paths, we'll take that, that final data set, and we'll make sure that it's embedded into our glide path and modeling so we can see what is our progress from 19 through 2024. And then we can adjust our glide paths from 2025 to 2030 and 2030 out to 2035 to make sure that our yearly reductions then are taking into account the amount we've reduced through the year of 2024. So those are the key steps for this first really, really important focus area for us in GEC and as a focus area for the year. If you can go to the next slide, Hisham. We're also going to be working and developing a work stream. I'd love to have volunteers and hands raised for this really key step here, and that is to update our decarbonization guidebook. Mainly the focus is going to be around flag emissions reductions capabilities, but there may be some other opportunities too that we can take advantage of while we open up this document. If we would like to update a little bit in the Scope 1 and Scope 2 areas and certain key areas, we can also take that in as well. But what we're going to start with first is a benchmarking. So a benchmarking across the system of what's happening right now, what we can learn from in terms of agricultural emissions reduction or flag emissions related reduction projects, which could also be forestry related, right? It's ag and it's also forestry products. In addition to that internal benchmarking, we're also going to connect with our team members in beer. We're going to conduct some sessions with them to review together on what practices they're putting in place, what we can learn from. We will share back with them as well what we're doing in Coca-Cola to be able to shape that kind of outside-in perspective. Then we'll take that information together in Q3 and we will start to make the content updates with case studies and also carbon reduction calculations for the decarbonization guidebook, so that by the time we get to the end of the year, we can have some formal trainings, we can release the guidebook and really have the key, capability development that's going to be needed for the years to come here. We will go ahead and, as we can, bring in guest speakers and learning opportunities throughout the year as well within GEC on this specific topic, so that the entire system can learn as we're moving throughout the year within the Global Environmental Council network. Go ahead, Hisham, to the next slide. One of the key projects last year also was an area where we had a significant pain point, working in an Excel tool to model very advanced scenario analysis for carbon reduction and for costing. We knew that we needed to move away from that, and we now actually have a budget in place. We have a work stream that's focused on digitizing the SBT tool, and we have a plan for the year that I wanted to share with you here. So right now, as I speak, we have just released a request for proposal to what the team in Q4 has elected as the top 4 vendors. These vendors were with a longer list went through information sessions with our workstream team in Q4. This includes Siemens, it includes Enablon, it also includes Altruistic, who is the vendor that is being worked with for the pilot for the LCA and the SSEF work, and Watershed. And then right now, what we're doing, in addition to just going through questions and answers with them over the next week or so, is giving also some time to creating the scoring criteria, and then going through the process with the team by the end of Q1 to select the top vendor with that scoring criteria. So it's an intensive focus to try to make sure that by the time we get to Q2, we feel comfortable with selecting a vendor that can start to customize for us. We know that there is not an off-the-shelf solution that can deliver this type of specific modeling that we do need for the Coca-Cola system. And keep in mind, this will be a system offering. This will not just be for the company boundary. We will make sure it's built into the requirements, that this solution can be something that is used by any of our franchise bottlers as well for their SBTs, as well as the company's SBT. So in Q2 and Q3, this is where we need to essentially ensure that we get the solution prepped and ready, tested and validated. We will migrate data in from Cosmos so that we can actually do real testing on our data that is historical in there. And then by the time we get to the end of Q3, we will have feedback and looping back to the vendor to make sure that they refine where needed. In the second half of the year, it's going to be really crucial that we have documented instructions and user guidance already. Even if we only pilot stage this first, we need to make sure it's very clear how to use the tool, what would be the intro steps for each section and each lever, what is the methodology that we're working with, so that all of us actually have a very clear pathway forward with how we would utilize this solution. This will also be linked into the mandatory reporting. Keep in mind, some of the regulations are requiring that we disclose our target, and we would need to third-party assure our target. So with that, we will be building this process into the book of sustainability, ensuring that we have RCM controls in place for accuracy purposes and completeness purposes, so that we're able to align with CSRD, with SEC, as well as the California Disclosure Regulation and any other forthcoming regulations as well. So that will take place in Q3, Q4 as well. Finally, there's one more that I would like to share, and that is the ongoing and very good work, if you can go to the next slide, Hisham, on digitizing our main areas around Scope 3. This is work we did start already last year, but I just wanted to say that there is a big push to get the packaging, the CDE, and the Cosmos, the ingredients completed in Cosmos by the end of Q1. Reason being, we would like to have some pre-assurance reviews with Ernst & Young of these campaigns already in Q2. So there is an accelerated time plan. There's a lot of focus with the workstream teams that are working with platform services and with Kenny and with our suppliers here that are developing these solutions. And so far, so good. We would like to reach out to team members in GEC who would be able to do some testing with us, probably in the second half of Q1, I would say, maybe the second half of February and into March, to do some testing and playing around with these inside of Cosmos. So do please let me know if you're willing, able, and interested in that. If we can go to my final slide, I've got something very exciting I want to share with you, and that is the development of a formal greenhouse gas emissions policy. I do think that this is long overdue. I've envisioned this since I started working with the company, something more broadly that could kind of frame not just the governance, but frame how we're working and what's expected from a system point of view that is agnostic to really the target scope, because in the end, we may have a target scope now that's more company focused. We may go back to a system focused target in the future, but what we want to make sure is that we always have franchise leadership. We need to define what that means. And we need to make sure it's clear that we have continued expectations together to monitor and to work to reduce system-wide emissions, even if we don't disclose those emissions. So this document will frame that overall strategy and the importance of continuing to work with CDE, that's part of our franchise partners, or their packaging and their ingredients, as well as what's in our company boundary. In addition to that, it's going to clarify some things for us a little bit more. You know, the prohibition around high GWP refrigerants. We've always kind of just said HFCs, right, which has been very important. It's going to give a little more clarity on that. And it's going to give clarity on what our position is on carbon offsetting and insetting, which I think is something that all of us in the climate space have really wanted to have this clarification. And it will go into the other elements that you would expect, like the materiality assessment, how we apply that, what are the current results of our materiality assessment. It will explain our company scope and boundaries for the target and for our inventory, what's included and excluded, and our goals that we have structured. And it will also give some information on, you know, our recalculation policy. When will the Coca-Cola company, what would trigger us to recalculate our base year or historical numbers? Also on the disclosure side, when would we need to restate? What would trigger that? And finally, you know, just a little bit of our approach around greenhouse gas emissions accounting, our alignment with the greenhouse gas protocol, our operational control approach. These, I think, are key things that I'm really happy that we will now have in a living policy document for all of us, for all of the system. And it should be ready pretty soon. We were aiming to try to get this released by the end of January. I think due to the fact that we really wanted this to be holistic, it was initially just going to be focused on reporting. There's a chance we may need just a few more weeks after the end of this week, because PAX and our sustainability team members from CPG as well, we want to give everyone an opportunity to just take a look at the draft and make sure that it's you know, meeting the needs and fit for purpose from all of our point of views here. But yeah, just wanted to share this, and we're quite excited about being able to provide this to everyone. Hisham, this was my last slide. So I want to thank everyone, and I don't know if I have time to answer questions direct, but I can also take them in the chat, and I'm happy to do that, Hisham.
Yeah, thank you, Collins, for this. I think it's better now to take them in chat, and if we still have some minutes, we can, I mean, after Niels, we can always open questions. So Niels, the floor is yours. I know we have exceeded by 3 or 4 minutes, but I count on you to adapt it.
No worries, I will be quick. Hi everybody, so let's go to the next slide. So today we will talk about the water targets, which have been updated. I got a lot of questions, so I want to touch this shortly. Then I will proudly present the FAWA results, which we have now completed. And finally, the TIC Big Rock on Water Security Roadmap. If we go to the next slide, I have here in the first part of the slide written down our voluntary environmental goals related to water. So we aim to return more than 100% of water used in our finished products globally on an aggregate level to nature and communities. Since 2015, the company has met or exceeded this goal. So this was in the past already our goal, and it will continue. I do not expect to have too many issues of reaching it, because we have a lot of experience here, and also because of our second target, which is seek to return 100% of the total water use in each of the more than 200 high-risk locations across the Coca-Cola system. And in case we reach the second one, we are striving to reach the second one, automatically we will also reach the first one, or most of it. So let's have a look what is new. or what stays. First, very important, water remains on top of the agenda of the Coca-Cola system sustainability agenda. We see that there are like no big changes. All our key goals stay here. I think that's a very clear message from our leadership to the system and from our system to the world that yes, water is our first ingredient. It is needed on the one side for our production. On the other side also it's a human right and vital for communities and watersheds. So this will stay. Then of course we have updated the timeline. As you know, it was 2030 targets we had in the past. Now it's also 2035. I think that's also a very, very strong message that the water targets are here to stay. Yeah, it's not 2030 and then we're looking for something else. No, we have a continuation of water stewardship, keeping our leadership role within this part. So I think this is also a very strong sign that we have extended to 2035. As many of you know and have been involved, we have redone our so-called FAVA, water risk assessment of our facilities. And the number of facilities has changed from about 190 to 240. Yeah. The reason for that is if we look around the world, I'm sure each of us has seen in the news how the water stress situation or the water risk has evolved in the last years globally. Africa, India, South America, all our key growth markets have like significant water risk issues, and to mitigate that and to be on top of the game, the higher number of high risk location as being now defined. So that brings us to the next, the third bullet point. The name, as you know, has been changing from leadership location to high risk location. The concept is the same, everything is the same. The only change here is that we have a new naming. This new naming of high risk location, it's more intuitive than leadership location. For external people, the terminology leadership location might not have been set explanatory, while high risk location, at least for me, clearly says what it is, locations which have high water risks. Then I think what's also a change in the past, we have been calculating required replenishment. That means how much water at each high risk location needs to be replenished. Yeah, was the total water use, and minus or subtracted, we did the beneficial wastewater discharge. The beneficial wastewater discharge is not anymore part of the target. That means that the volume of water we need to replenish will increase. Yeah, I think there are on the one side that is good, because it simplifies everything. As many of you know, beneficial wastewater has always been like an additional workload and also a bit of complexity, and sometimes hard also to explain to our external stakeholders. On the other side, it also means that we have like additional volumes which we need to replenish. However, we have more time. So I think it is a balanced approach on this. Please have in mind that for our 2026 and 2027 intermediate targets, the beneficial wastewater discharge will still be in due to existing contracts. And that means that for the next 2 years, we are still going to validate the beneficial wastewater discharge. The last point is that the water efficiency has moved from an external to an internal objective, but there's no public setting of a public goal. I think that shows two things. One, that the focus of water, we have like already most of our facilities already have achieved like a good water use ratio, and the focus to achieve water security, which is the ultimate goal of our water policy, is to focusing more outside of the facility, or focusing as well outside of the facilities. Yeah, because we can only achieve water security if we have like strong actions also outside of our four boundaries. That was all on the environmental goals related to water. If there are any questions, please drop them in the chat. I will go please to the next slide. On the next slide, you can see the outcome of the FAVA assessment. So it was I would say, tremendous work. If you consider that about like 720 facilities have been assessed together with all the OUs, with CPS, with flavor manufacturing, with global ventures, with our bottling partners, with dedicated co-packers. So you can really see that like a huge number of people has been involved in this assessment and achieving a system alignment. I think I really have to say it's a great success, because as you know, water risks are not always purely black and white. There's also some room for interpretation. As I already said, the number of locations has gone up to 240, yeah, due to the deteriorating water situation. Yeah, and I think what is, beside of having now a clear number defined, I think what is even a bigger value, that each OU, each bottling partner has a clear understanding of what are our key risks. Everybody knows now what are our priority facilities where we need to look at. Yeah, and I think also, I think it's really also helped us a lot to improve our knowledge on our capacities and capabilities related to water security. Next steps, we will develop for all high-risk locations a replenishment glide paths, so to how we can achieve our 2035 replenishment targets. Yeah, and of course also how are we able to mitigate our water risks. The next FAVA won't be next year. Don't worry, I know it's a lot of work, but it's planned for 2029. Until then, we expect that the list remains as stable as possible. Of course, if there's dramatic change, for example, in regulations or new facilities are added to the system, there's some flexibility to add. But overall, there won't be any kind of changes. Yeah. Lessons learned of the FAVA process, we have to see that the software we are working with, the platform called Nautilus or GWS, it's outdated, and for the next one we will not use it anymore because it had a lot of bugs and was creating a lot of additional work. Yeah, and also the idea here is that we completely link the FAVA assessment to the SVA, so it's basically there's one water risk assessment, and we don't have to do first the SVA and then later on the FAVA. That is all on the FAVA. If I have 1 second time, you allow, Hisham, I would like to hand over to Gabi because she's raised her hand. So Gabi, if you have a question, please come directly live.
Attends une seconde, Malika.
Yeah, don't see Gabi's hand anymore. Then let's move. Let's move to the next slide. As I have presented already last time, our 2025 priorities, I only want to focus today on the most important water priority for us. It's a 2025 TISC big rock. That means we will frequently report to the TISC Council, which is led by Nancy, and all the technical VPs, and also the operating officers from the bottling partners are member of the council. So that also will give us like a lot of visibility, which I think is very good. The objective of this operationalization of the water change or the management is that we will develop water security roadmaps for each market. This was already presented in, I think, in the September meeting. The idea here is that each OU for the key markets has like a well-defined water security roadmap which identifies and addresses all key water risks for our facilities, watersheds, and communities. This water security roadmap will be like a strategic guideline to prioritize how and where we source water from and what projects we are going to implement in order to improve the water security. Important here is that we want to think transformational. We already had started with 3 pilots in Chile, South Africa, and India. For example, for India, we really plan how we can transform the agriculture or the water use in agriculture in India in order to really change, to transform water security in these countries. As a key milestone and timing for delivery, as communicated to our technical leadership, we want to publish the final roadmaps of the pilot markets by end of February. Then we are sequencing the next set of markets. That means that each of our OUs will have at least one key market to develop a water security map for. I know from some of the OUs that they're interested to have more than one. Yeah, that also shows interest. Yeah, and then of course we want to the methodology, which we have captured all the learnings from the 3 pilots, will be updated and also being shared in February. And then we will have like to enable the system to implement high impact solutions. We will publish a water security solution catalog. Yeah. And finally, by end of the year, we want to have all our OUs to have finalized water security roadmaps. Yeah, that's all on from the water update. Hisham, we still have like 4 minutes left. If there are any questions, please, please raise them.
Anyway, I'm stopping sharing. At least we can see each other, and we are having 4 minutes to discuss whatever questions you may have from system.
Niels, there's a question on AWS that Anton asked, and I second. Could you
Yeah.
clarify the company requirement of AWS?
Yeah. So first of all, thank you for the question, Priola, and thank you for the question, Anton. So first of all, there's no requirement in our core system to have AWS certifications. Within the QSE1 score, we give supplementary score for gap assessment and corrective action plan, or basically implementation of the AWS standard. But explicitly, we are not requesting any kind of certification. I think that's very important. There's no certification. Now, looking at AWS, I'm a big supporter of the system. I think it's a great methodology to drive water security. And I think it's also in many parts very much aligned with the water security roadmap. However, there's like 5 steps in the AWS framework. The last thing is disclosure. For us, disclosure of information related to water can be a bit tricky because, of course, we also need to protect we have confidentiality requirements and the PACS policy that only certain information with certain approvals can be published. That means we do not ask any facilities to have like certifications. Yeah, if the bottling partner decides to do so, that is fine. Everything aligned, of course, with our public affairs communication strategy or policy, but there is no requirement from our sides to be certified. I hope that answers the question, Anton.
Yes, on certification, we need to come back on that one, I think, in general. We have still some questions there, but that's fine. Thank you, Niels.
No, happy, please reach out to me and I'm happy to discuss this. There are also a couple of other OUs and bottling partners with similar concerns or questions, so very happy to take this.
Yeah, Niels, this is Jasmine. I think even on the gap assessment, I think we need to discuss more if it's value added or not.
I think that's a very different question. Just means that it's a question if like the framework of water security, yeah, doing things outside of the facility, yeah, is it adds value? I think it's a very different question from the certification. For the framework itself, I'm very much convinced that AWS and the methodology, how we can manage risks, is really adding a lot of value. But also happy to take this offline.
Thanks.
If there are no more questions, I say a big thank you for all the participants to this call. And if you look at the chat, we can really see that there are like a lot of questions and engagement. So thank you very much to all of you. The GEC would be nothing without your work, your support, and your dedication. So with that, I'm really looking forward to working together with you in 2025. Yeah, we are a great team, and we are here to make the difference. With that, I say thank you very much and have a great rest of the week. Bye.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.